Hi everyone, and welcome back. I'm Jenny, and I made this YouTube channel to help fellow school counselors get resources for starting a psychotherapy private practice. In the last video, we looked at creating a CAQH profile, which is a necessary step if you want to be able to take insurance. And today I'm going to go into a lot more detail about taking insurance. There are a lot of pros and cons to taking insurance, and you may have heard some horror stories about things like clawbacks, where therapists who billed insurance for services ended up having the money that they already were paid taken back out later. Or you may have gotten the impression that insurance is just too big of a pain and you don't want to deal with it. I won't deny that there's definitely some work involved in taking insurance, both in terms of just getting started with credentialing, and then also in terms of doing the actual billing for services. But there also are some pretty important benefits to consider as well. Many clients have mental health coverage included with their insurance, and so of course they want to use it. By accepting insurance as a provider, you're giving people this option. And also, there are some ways to make taking insurance a lot easier, which I'm going to share with you in a minute. The other big pro to think about when it comes to accepting insurance is that you're going to have a much easier time actually getting clients. Many therapists who are just starting out really struggle to find enough self-pay clients, and they talk about having to find another job just to make ends meet. So, if you decide that you want to take insurance, or even if you aren't sure, but you want to find out more information, you're in the right place with this video, because we will cover the basics to getting started with taking insurance. There's a lot of different insurance companies out there. Some are commercial, like United Healthcare, Aetna, Cigna, which Evernorth is what they use for their behavioral health portion, and Anthem, Blue Cross, Blue Shield, just to name some of the big ones. And then there's also Medicaid and Medicare, which are government funded. There are companies like Alma, Headway, Sondermind, Grow, and so many more that serve as go-betweens for therapists and insurance companies. And they help therapists to get credentialed with insurance. So insurance companies then can use these go-between services and not have to try to mess with every little individual provider. So that's better for insurance. And then, of course, for the providers, it allows us to be credentialed with companies that we might not be able to get credentialed with on our own, or even if we do get credentialed with them on our own, they may not pay us as much as we can get going through these intermediary companies. Even after those companies take a cut of whatever the insurance companies are paying for our services. So, for example, I am credentialed with Cigna, both through like Headway and then also just on my own, and I make almost twice as much going through Headway as I make when I bill on my own for the same service. So this could be a really nice way to go if you want to take insurance. Some other benefits to using one of these companies is that they will give you free professional development, a lot of really high quality stuff there. So Headway, again, for example, partners with PESI, which I've talked about in the past, and a lot of the trainings that they offer to the providers, they've just already paid for us. So it's just an extra benefit we don't have to pay for. And they also use something called Violet, which you can get on your own and it's free, but I found out about Violet through Headway. They also have communities of other providers that you can hook up with and be able to get more support, maybe get some consultation help when you need it. And then another one of the helpful things about these companies is that you follow along and do what they tell you to do for submitting the claims after you do a service, and then they do a lot of the behind the scenes work for billing for you. So those are some nice things about using one of these services. Some of these companies do offer options for you to get credentialed with Medicare and Medicaid, as well as the commercial companies, and then others only do the commercial, and they don't do Medicaid and Medicare. So I'm going to tell you just a little bit about my own experience to give you an example of what it could look like. But of course, you are a unique person, and so your path is going to look different. For me, I preferred to actually get credentialed on my own for Medicaid and Medicare. And I did go through the process to also get credentialed with Medicaid and Medicare, with Grow and Headway and Sondermind for at least some of those. But what I found is that just by being willing to kind of wade through a lot of paperwork and bureaucracy, which, I guess I just didn't mind doing, you can actually just get credentialed directly with Medicaid and Medicare and get paid really well on your own. So different from my example with Cigna, where I'm credentialed with Cigna, but I get paid half as much. With Medicaid and Medicare, I'm credentialed on my own, and I get paid as much and sometimes a good bit more than I would going through one of those intermediary companies like Grow, Headway, Sondermind, etc. However, in order to actually get paid, you have to do more than just get credentialed. You also have to figure out a way to submit your claims if you're not going to go through an intermediary company. And then you have to have a way to actually get the money after you submit the claim and they hopefully approve the claim. Then they're going to pay you, but that's a tricky kind of extra step as well. So really going through all the steps for getting credentialed or submitting claims and getting paid out is beyond the scope of this video. I'm just going to share the highlights. You can find information on the government websites for how to get started with credentialing, and there are people who can help you answer questions all along the process to help you get credentialed, and then also to help you with after you're credentialed and submitting claims and all of that. For submitting claims, you are more than likely going to want to have an electronic health recording system, EHR. So that will allow you to submit the claims electronically. Technically, you could also submit the claims by fax or mail, but that just takes a lot of time and paper that I don't want to do. I don't know a lot of people that do. I personally am using something called Simple Practice right now for my EHR. In the past, I've also used Therapy Notes, and those are two of the more popular ones, but I know that there's a lot of others out there that may also be really good. And I can do a video another time to really look more at the EHR options, what those look like. But for now, we're just going to say you'll probably want to get set up with one of these, and then that's going to streamline a lot of the rest of this process for you. What you'll do, kind of basics, is within your EHR, you're going to have a calendar. You're going to put in whenever you have a session with a client, and then that's going to trigger a way for you to then press some buttons and submit a claim. From there, the claims are done using a form called CMS 1500. So kind of like how with the IRS when we get ready to file taxes every year, and they have their forms, like the form 1040 that we all have to fill out and turn in for our taxes. The Centers for Medicare and Medicaid also have their own forms that we as providers need to submit in order to get paid for our services. So CMS stands for Centers for Medicare and Medicaid, and then 1500 is just the name of their form. So I'm just giving you that little extra detail, but really with your EHR system, they're just going to fill it out for you. And if you look closely, you can see that that's what the form is called. After you submit the claim, then you're going to have to wait. Sometimes it can take a little while. I usually find that I'm getting paid within about 2 to 4 weeks after I submit a claim. When I first submitted my first claims to Medicare and Medicaid, I got a paper check sent to me through the mail, and it took a while for that to come. But then I was able, once I started getting paid and, kind of getting the flow going, I was able to set up an online profile with an entity that serves as a go-between, another go-between for these government insurance companies, and then me as a provider in terms of the payment and banking side of things. And for different Medicare plans that I take and different Medicaid plans that I take, there are different entities. So it can get to be kind of a lot, just to be really honest. But I give these entities my banking information, and then once it gets set up, they just automatically put the money into my bank account. And then they also have a way for me to look at the details electronically for all the payments that they're giving me. So I can see by client and dates of service, how much did I actually get paid. And I can also see if the client has any kind of a copay or a deductible that I need to charge them. So then with Simple Practice, and most likely any EHR that you use, there's going to be a way that I can go in and bill the client for their portion of what they need to pay for the service. So that's kind of the nitty-gritty, specifically when it comes to using Medicare and Medicaid. And I think that the process is similar for getting credentialed on your own for the commercial companies as well. And then for most commercial plans, for me, I'm choosing to go through Headway. I'll tell you a little bit about my experiences using some of the different companies besides Headway, and then I'll tell you why I'm choosing Headway for right now. So Alma is one that they pay a higher rate, but they also charge a fee to clinicians for getting started. And I haven't used them because for me, it just goes against my own kind of principles, I guess. Similar to like if I'm going to open up a banking account and I'm going to give the bank my money, I do not think that I should also have to pay a fee for that because they're already getting my money, so that should be good enough. And then in the same kind of vein, if I have the credentials to be able to provide a service for a company, then I'm willing for, if they give me something, and in this case, give me access to insurance companies where I can get paid and I can get clients, I'm willing to give them a cut of, the payment that the insurance company gives for that service. But I do not also want to pay on top of that. And that's just too much, in my opinion. So I don't work with Alma. I have worked with Sondermind, and what I would say about Sondermind is they were a really great place for me to get started. I got good training, I got good support, and I got a lot of really good clients through them. However, in more recent times, I personally have found that they have become incredibly slow at responding to my requests for support. They don't have a telephone option for providers to be able to get support anymore like they used to. And then they do give a lot of referrals, but a lot of those referrals don't end up actually panning out into anything. So this may be partly because of their system and how it works. My understanding about how it works is that people who get onto the Sondermind website and just are even kind of poking around, but they've kind of barely entered any information into the system. They don't have really all of their details put there yet. Sondermind will still take those people and farm them out to their available therapists. They give every potential client 2 therapists, and then the client, in theory, can choose between those 2 therapists, or of course say they don't like either one of those and they want to be rematched again. For the provider, what it looks like is if you turn on your availability, you're going to get a bunch of potential clients kind of popping up. And then you're expected to reach out to them by a certain time. So you might reach out to these prospective clients, and 8 out of 10 of them or something, just you don't ever hear from. And then there's also times that I have come across where clients are really serious about getting started, but they want to work with a particular Sondermind provider. And Sondermind doesn't have an easy way for clients to search for and find a particular provider. Not that I'm aware of. That may have changed. But it was just a bit confusing for everyone. The other main complaint that I would say about Sondermind is that they, in my opinion, they have not kept up with the times in terms of updating their rates for providers. And just knowing that I can get paid a good bit more money using something like Headway is a big reason that I stopped using Sondermind. But Headway also doesn't claim to be a referral source for clients, so that may be something that you want to consider when you think about making your choice. I also tried Grow Therapy, but I didn't really get started with them because after kind of going through some of the process, and then there's like a contract that you can look at, and I looked through the contract, and I found that some of their rules for providers just, in my opinion, were strange, and I didn't really feel great about it. I won't go into a lot of the details there. It's kind of nebulous, honestly, but I didn't get a good feeling when I read through the contract. And then also they just don't pay as well. They do provide referrals and training and support similar to Sondermind. So could be a really great option for some folks out there. Just wasn't quite right for me. I also want to say a word about another company that is not the same as these ones that I've just been talking about. It is different. You may have heard of them because they do, or at least in the past have done, a ton of marketing. And I was noticing on pretty much every podcast that I was listening to, they were being, advertised. So BetterHelp, if you've heard of them, they are not a healthcare company. They do not work with insurance, and as far as I understand, they are actually considered like a tech company, and the service that they're really providing is their technology platform. So they're not actually providing healthcare services, not technically. But I don't like it because for me personally, I just think it's shady to say, oh, if you want to work with us as a provider, you need to have these credentials. But then, so I did try working with them. So I know from kind of the inside out here, they do not want us to call ourselves healthcare practitioners, even though that is what we are. We are licensed that way. And they don't want us to do some of the things that we would normally do, such as a diagnostic assessment and actually giving people a diagnosis or treatment planning in the real kind of full, thorough sense of it. They have a thing in there where you can, write some goals for your client, but in my opinion, that's not the same as doing a whole treatment plan. And then they pay the clinicians a really paltry wage, in my opinion, while at the same time charging clients a lot more and then just pocketing most of that money for themselves. I don't like that. They don't even give us access to the clients' last names or where the clients are located. And this goes against our ethics. It goes against the expectations of the boards that license us, that we need to know precisely where our clients are located when we're doing telehealth for them. Clients and clinicians are not necessarily aware when they are using BetterHelp that there's some structures in place and some expectations that the company BetterHelp has that are actually not in alignment with real healthcare services. So, like I said, I just think it is a bit shady. And, if we can offer insurance to a client, then I think if I'm saying, yes, I am credentialed with your insurance and I could provide this service to you and allow you to use your insurance, then I think it's kind of my obligation to at least let clients know that that is an option. And I didn't get the sense that BetterHelp was really gonna like it if I were to talk to clients about their options as far as payment is concerned. They really seemed to me to be discouraging any conversation about the financial aspects of the service that we were providing, which again just doesn't work for me. I don't think that's a good way for us to be operating as healthcare practitioners. So I guess I would just say that I think for clients, you can use other things out there and maybe could look at BetterHelp as kind of like you get what you pay for. Unfortunately, clients still have to pay a good amount and maybe would be expecting to be getting a pretty good service for that. And sometimes I'm sure that they can. I think that there are lovely, wonderful therapists who work with BetterHelp. But in my experience, because I also was a client and used therapists through BetterHelp, as well as being a therapist with them, my sense was that the therapists that I was working with were really overworked, and I could tell, and it just wasn't, the high quality of service that I would be looking for, which, no fault of theirs. They're trying to squeak out a decent wage, and it's pretty hard to do with BetterHelp. So I don't think it's a great option for either clients or clinicians. I think that there are better options out there for both, and we may as well take advantage of that. So I think because I had some disparaging remarks to say, I will just also say the disclaimer that this is just my opinion. As a person who has freedom of speech, I'm exerting that right and just wanting to say what I think. But you can certainly do your own research and decide for yourself. So then that brings me to Headway, which for me has been a really good option for a while now. And although they say that they don't technically give referrals, I've actually gotten a number of great clients through them in a few different ways. Headway has done some really good things to kind of align themselves with insurance companies and make it where when people go to their insurance websites looking for providers, through Headway as a provider, I'm listed there, and so some folks have found me that way. Headway's also been helpful in paying for Psychology Today profiles for a number of months and just helping me to get started that way. And they have really excellent trainings and support. They've been really responsive whenever I've had questions. They do not offer phone support, but I have found that it's worked out okay because they are so responsive otherwise. And then another thing I really appreciate about them is just that their platform is really user friendly. Like, I actually can easily click, click, click and get through, as opposed to some of these other ones that are just kind of a mess, honestly. And then I wanted to share one more option that is probably not as well known, but I think worth looking into. They are trying to go nationwide, and they're called Collective Counseling Solutions. So they're run by a couple of amazing clinicians who just clearly care for real about clients and clinicians. Some of their systems, to be honest, are, in my opinion, a little clunky, a little cumbersome, but they pay really well, they provide great support, and they're just good people. They also helped me in particular with getting credentialed with Kaiser, which I was not able to really do in many other platforms. And Kaiser pays the best right now of all of the insurances. And a lot of people have Kaiser as their insurance. And so it widens the pool of clients, that I can take. So I really appreciate Collective Counseling Solutions. Some of the first steps that you would want to do no matter what, if you're wanting to take insurance, is to get an NPI number and build up your CAQH profile. Both of those topics are covered in other videos that I've already done, so feel free to look back for those. And I hope this helps you to just get started and kind of wrap your mind around what it could look like to be taking insurance. This is exciting because I think once you have this piece figured out, you will be well on your way to starting a very successful private practice. And until next time, I'll see you soon, but please remember, you have options and opportunities.